Here we have another nested triangles problem, meaning a triangle inside of another triangle. And they tell us that ST is parallel to PR, which is really just another way of saying these triangles are similar because of AA, the corresponding angles being congruent. And so this definitely looks like a similar triangles proportion question where we're asked to solve for QR. That's what our variable is, QR, the whole segment. And so when I set this up, I'm going to set my proportion up so that it is comparing one side of a triangle to the same side of the larger triangle. And then I'll also be comparing the small side here to the large side of the big triangle. So my proportion will look like this. 5 over 5 plus 2, which is 7, is going to be equal to, and this is the annoying part because they give us this measurement here, and so I could call this x minus 5, since the whole side I'm giving the name x, and this piece here would represent x minus 5. So 5 over 7 equals x minus 5 over the full side, which is x. When we cross multiply, we'll get 5x is equal to 7x minus 35. Notice that we had to distribute that 7. And then I'll subtract 5x from both sides and add 35 to both sides. And I get that 35 is equal to 2x. And dividing by 2 on both sides, we finally get that x is equal to 17.5. And for those of you who may ask, you could have done this slightly differently. If you had done 2 over 7 equals 5 over x, you'd have gotten the right answer. So you could have done that. You get 2x equals 35 when you cross multiply, and again, x equals 17.5. So it is fine to compare side, or a piece of a side, to a piece of a side as long as you're consistent. So 2 and 5 do go together, just like 7 and x would go together. Here we're asked about the arc length of AB. So we're given the central angle and we want to figure out the arc length. And this turns out to always be the same idea, that this arc length is the same fraction of the circumference of the shape as this central angle is of the total degrees in the angle. And so we want to just say 120 degrees out of 360 is really 1/3 of the triangle's degree measure. So 1/3 of the circle is contained in here. And then we want to just figure out what is the total circumference of the circle. The circumference is going to be given by 2 pi times the radius. The radius here is 6, and so the total circumference is 12 pi. And if this was 1/3 of the circle's degree measure, then again, this is 1/3 of the circle's circumference. And so our answer will be 1/3 times 12 pi, which is choice 4. You may want to notice that here, they gave you 36 pi, which would be the area formula. So you want to stay away from that. They're trying to trick you a little bit on that one. The arc length is a fraction of the circumference, not the area. So this is your annoying either HLLS or SAAS question for this exam. And the particularly annoying thing about this is that they don't give you the diagram. They expect you to draw it. So starting off, we have a right triangle where the hypotenuse of this right triangle is EF. So we'll say this is E and this is F. And then it says that line segment CD is the altitude from C, the altitude drawn to side EF, the hypotenuse. And so this would be D right here. And altitudes we know make right angles. So we know we have this diagram that we usually work with, which is a right triangle that is split at its right angle into multiple other right triangles. They tell us that EC is 10, EF, the full thing, the full hypotenuse, is 24. And to the nearest tenth, we want to find what is ED. And so this would be a clear example where HLLS is actually the much easier method. The hypotenuse times the piece of the hypotenuse is going to be equal to the leg squared, or in other words, the hypotenuse over the leg is equal to the leg over an S represents the piece of the hypotenuse that's on the same side as the leg. So that would be ED. So 24 over 10 equals 10 over x. In other words, the hypotenuse times the piece is equal to the leg squared. So we get 24x equals 100. And when we divide by 24 on both sides, we'll get that x is equal to 4.2 for choice 1. This would be an example where using SAAS would be really difficult because we would have to set this up as like x and 24 minus x to try to figure out what this is. And then it's just too much work at that point. So you're much better off using HLLS on this question, even though usually they expect you to use SAAS. Here we have line MN dilated by a scale factor of 2, centered at 0, 6. And they say the equation of MN is y equals negative 3x plus 6. Then what would be the equation of M prime N prime, which is the image of MN? And the answer here is choice 2. And the reason why is that anytime that they ask you to dilate a line's equation by a point that's not the origin, there's a very good chance that that point is going to be on the line. And so I would check that out right away. So plug in 6, the y, and 0, the x, and you'll see that we get a true statement that 6 equals 6, which is not surprising because if you look at the equation, it's in mx plus b form, and they tell us that the y-intercept is 6. So this would be the y-intercept. And the rule is that anytime the point of dilation is on the line, then the equation always stays the same. That's why we picked choice 2. Number 25 says that a triangle A prime, B prime, C prime is the image of ABC after a translation up 3 and 2 right. And they just ask us, is it congruent? And explain why. And this is a classic version of a 4 statements problem. Anytime that you're talking about a rigid motion and they just want you to explain are 2 shapes congruent, then you just go through your 4 statements. So 1, triangle A prime, B prime, C prime is a translation of triangle ABC. 2, translations are rigid motions. 3, rigid motions preserve size and shape. 4, therefore, triangle A prime, B prime, C prime is congruent to triangle ABC. If you just fill out those 4 statements, where the only details you really need to fill in are what kind of rigid motions, then you get full credit on a question like this. In question 26, we are dilating triangle ABC from centered 1, 2, and its scale factor 2. So what we would do then is if we want to graph it, then we basically just take the slope, say from D to B is up 3 and right 1. And since we're dilating by scale factor 2, instead of just doing that once, we do it twice. So up 3, right, left 1, a second time. And that gives us B prime. Same thing for A, which is down 1 from D and left 3. We'll do that a second time, down 1 and left 3. And that's A prime. And last, from D, C is 3 down and 3 right. So we'll do that a second time, and that tells us where C prime is. And we would take our straight edge at that point and just connect these other 3 points, and we're done. Just notice that this problem said and label. So if we had left off our A prime, B prime, and C prime, then we would not have gotten full credit for this question. And one more thing that is a common mistake is that sometimes what people want to do is they say B is up 3 and left 1, and the scale factor is 2, so from B I'm going to go up 3 left 1 and up 3 left 1. They do it twice because the scale factor is 2. But really that would be tripling the distance. B to D is this distance here, and going twice out from there, you would end up with something that's 3 times as far. So the scale factor, you only want to make sure you do it that number of times, but including the first distance as the first multiple, and then the second one is the second multiple. Here is a question last year that was a 100 killer. There were a few people who could have gotten hundreds and just made a quick mistake on this question. It says quadrilateral BIKE and GOLF are graphed on the set of axes, and we want to make a set of transformations that maps bike onto golf. And what a lot of people did is they just said translate up 5 and right 8. So they said this T 8 in the X direction and 5 in the Y direction. But the reason that that's not okay is they say quadrilateral BIKE, BIKE, which is moving counterclockwise, is going to be mapped onto quadrilateral GOLF, which is moving clockwise. And so the orientation here is not correct. If we just translate up 5 and right 8, then B will go on L, where B is supposed to go with the first letter here, which is G. And so we need to fix that. And the way that we're going to fix that is with a reflection. Anytime that your orientation is incorrect, what you need to do is reflect the shape first. So we're going to forget about this, and we're going to first reflect BIKE across the y-axis. And then, once we've reflected it across the y-axis so that our shape is like this, from there we're going to translate it. And we want to translate it up 5 units. So the x stays the same and the y is up 5. And that would be our full answer there. So be very careful to keep your eye out for these orientation tricks. There's a reason that they made this shape symmetric. It's because they were hoping you wouldn't catch on that there was a reflection involved. Here we have a circle with 2 secants drawn, and they give us some information about it, that RS is equal to 6, that ST is equal to 4, and they tell us that RP is 15. And then they ask us to figure out what is RQ. And so the equation that we want to write here is that 6 times 10. The mistake they want you to make is they want to do 6 times 4. But it's the outer piece, 6, times the entire secant is equal to the outer piece x times 15, again, the entire secant. So we get that 60 is equal to 15x, divide by 15 on both sides, and we get x is equal to 4. And if we just check our work now, when we have x equals 4, 6 times 10 is equal to 4 times 15. So the outer piece times the full secant is equal to the outer piece times the full secant, and it works out 60 equals 60. And there's your final answer. So again, when the secants intersect outside of the circle, just make sure that you multiply by the full secant and not just the piece on the inside, which is like the 4. We want the whole thing. Here we want a median for side AC. So the median drawn to side AC is going to be the line from the opposite vertex B that connects to the midpoint of AC. That's what we want to construct. So I'm not going to be able to do the construction marks perfectly on the iPad, but what we would do is basically take the perpendicular bisector of segment AC, and it would look something like this. You would take your compass, make an arc that is more than halfway to C, and then using the same exact compass length, make another arc that is flipped around, now centered at C, and then those 2 intersection points would be connected with your straight edge, and that identifies the midpoint of AC. Now, we don't actually care, you wouldn't erase this construction mark, but we don't actually care about the perpendicular bisector. Don't erase it like I did on your regions. We need to leave all construction marks, but once we identify that midpoint, now we can take our straight edge and connect it to B, and this line here is the actual median, not the perpendicular bisector. That only helped us find the midpoint because it bisects it. And it depends on what you want, but if you wanted to construct the perpendicular bisector a little bit differently, what I showed you guys mostly at the beginning of the year was to take the full segment AC and use that to make the arc. It's a little bit easier just to go a little more than halfway on the iPad, but it would look something like this, and you really should get the same exact perpendicular bisector and the same midpoint. That would look like this, and you still get the same median. So whichever way you like, either set your radius to the whole distance and copy it with center at A, and then center at C, or just set your radius to be a little bit more than halfway, and that should work just as well. But this is now the median. Here we're given 2 right triangles, and we should see right away the Pythagorean triple here in both of these is 5, 12, 13. And so we can actually label the hypotenuse here 13, and we already know the hypotenuse here is 13, but that would make this 12. Since they're right triangles, they have to satisfy the Pythagorean theorem, which says 5 squared plus 12 squared is equal to 13 squared. So this is one of the triples you should have memorized, along with 3, 4, 5 to be sure. And then there's 8, 15, 17, which is also a pretty common one. And last would be 7, 24, 25. All 4 of these boxed up things satisfy the Pythagorean theorem. But in particular, this one we want 5, 12, 13. So right away, we can see that they have the same side measurements. But the trick here is that Sky says the 2 triangles are similar, and Margaret says that they are, Sky says they're congruent, Margaret says they're similar. And we want to say, are both Sky and Margaret correct? And then explain why. So the trick here is that you might say that only Sky is correct because they're congruent. But things that are congruent are also similar with a scale factor of 1. If you dilate something by a scale factor of 1, you just end up with the exact same shape. So all things that are congruent are also similar, but not all things that are similar are also congruent. So in this case, both are correct. And you have to be careful to really go into this explain why. They will take off points if they're not satisfied with your explanation. These shapes are congruent by SSS, and they are similar by SSS with scale factor equal to 1. So you want to explain how you know that they're congruent and how you know that they're similar. Don't fall for the trick that they just want you to say they're congruent. That's what they're hoping you'll fall for.